The morning sun bathed the city in warm golden light, but inside the neighborhood dojo, one man carried a weight far heavier than anyone could see. Every day he arrived before sunrise with his young daughter, wearing a faded white gi that had been repaired so many times the stitching told its own story. Parents whispered behind his back, students smirked, and even a few instructors quietly questioned why a struggling single father kept returning when he clearly could not afford expensive equipment or private lessons. None of them knew the heartbreaking reason he never missed a single class. Before this story begins, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, and subscribe to Kindness Studio if you believe everyone deserves a second chance. Your support helps us share more stories that remind the world compassion is stronger than judgment. Elias Mercer had once dreamed of becoming a professional martial artist, but life had rewritten every plan he ever made. After losing his wife to a sudden illness, he became both father and mother to his 8-year-old daughter, Nia. Every morning he worked construction until noon, delivered groceries in the afternoon, and still somehow found enough energy to bring Nia to the dojo before evening. Karate had become their shared promise, the one place where they could remember happier days because Nia's mother had loved watching them train together. Even when bills piled up and sleep became a luxury, Elias refused to break that promise. Many parents inside the dojo looked at Elias with quiet contempt. They noticed his worn shoes, his old bicycle parked outside, and the patched training uniform that had clearly seen better days. Some assumed he wanted sympathy. Others believed he was chasing impossible dreams. A few children repeated the careless jokes they heard from adults, laughing whenever Elias bowed respectfully before practice. Nia heard every whisper, but her father always smiled and reminded her that true strength was measured by character, not by applause. One bright Saturday afternoon, excitement spread throughout the dojo. A legendary guest had arrived. His name was Rylan Takeda, an internationally celebrated 8th Dan martial artist whose business empire stretched across several countries. Newspapers called him the Billionaire Warrior because he had built one of the world's largest sports equipment companies after decades of mastering traditional karate. Students lined up hoping for photographs while instructors proudly prepared for his visit. As Rylan walked through the training hall, he noticed Elias helping another beginner tie a white belt correctly before quietly returning to his own corner. The billionaire saw the patched uniform and tired face but assumed the same thing everyone else had assumed. During introductions, several parents casually joked about the single father who never seemed able to improve his situation. Rylan listened without asking questions, and although he never laughed loudly, he allowed those assumptions to settle into his own mind. That silent judgment would soon become the most painful lesson of his life. The afternoon training session began. Rylan demonstrated advanced techniques with remarkable precision, impressing everyone watching. When volunteers were requested, almost every student stepped back except Elias. Calmly, he bowed and accepted the invitation. Some parents rolled their eyes, expecting him to embarrass himself before the famous master. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Elias moved with quiet confidence, not flashy or aggressive but balanced, disciplined, and deeply respectful. Every block flowed naturally into the next movement. Every counterattack stopped inches from Rylan's body with perfect control. The billionaire immediately realized he was facing someone who had trained through pain instead of privilege. Their sparring became less about competition and more about mutual understanding. When it ended, the dojo fell completely silent. Rylan bowed lower than anyone expected. For the first time that day, he truly looked at the man standing before him. He noticed the calloused hands of someone who worked endless hours, the exhausted eyes of a father carrying responsibilities alone, and the little girl watching with overwhelming pride. Something inside Rylan shifted. Later that afternoon, he quietly asked the head instructor about Elias. The answer shattered every assumption he had made. Elias had never asked for discounts. He secretly cleaned the dojo every weekend to help pay membership fees. When another family could not afford uniforms, Elias repaired old ones free of charge because he had learned sewing from his late wife during her illness. Several students who had won local tournaments had actually been coached by him after regular classes without accepting a single payment. Every act of kindness had remained invisible because Elias believed generosity should never seek recognition. Ryland felt ashamed. That evening he sat alone inside the empty dojo long after everyone had left. His trophies, wealth, and international reputation suddenly seemed insignificant compared to the quiet dignity of one ordinary father. For decades he had taught students never to judge an opponent by appearance, yet he himself had failed that very lesson. The following morning, sunlight once again filled the dojo. This time Ryland stood before every student and parent with visible emotion. He admitted that even an 8th Dan master could still make painful mistakes. He confessed that he had judged a man without understanding his story and apologized publicly to Elias in front of everyone. The room remained silent as many parents lowered their heads in embarrassment. Some quietly wiped away tears. Children who had once laughed now looked at Elias with admiration instead of pity. Ryland then announced something no one expected. He established a scholarship in Elias's late wife's memory, ensuring no child would ever be denied martial arts training because of financial hardship. He also invited Elias to become a senior instructor, not because of his fighting ability alone, but because he represented the true spirit of karate: humility, perseverance, compassion, and honor. Months later, the dojo became known throughout the city as a place where kindness mattered more than status. Families from every background trained together. Expensive uniforms no longer impressed anyone. Character did. Nia watched proudly as her father taught new students the same lesson he had lived every single day. He reminded them that belts measured skill, but hearts measured greatness. The loudest people in the room were rarely the strongest. The strongest people were often those quietly carrying burdens no one else could see. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Studio so together we can spread more stories of compassion and second chances. Special request, comment below, kindness is the greatest strength. We'd love to know where you're watching from. As the warm afternoon sun shined through the dojo windows, Ryland realized the most valuable lesson of his lifetime had never come from a championship, a fortune, or an 8th Dan belt. It had come from a humble single father who proved that true greatness is not earned by defeating others, but by lifting them up even while carrying your own pain.